developer, someone else. Okay, guys. Now let's see. There is a login functionality. Okay. Now in this login functionality, I just have username. Okay, and I have password, and I have login button, and yeah, okay, that's it. Not more than this. For this one, I need to write the test coverage, or I wanted to find out the test coverage. Before writing this one, so what are the things we need to remember? The first thing is we need to remember the testing pyramid. And levels of testing. And last one, I keep it as methodologies. And here I can keep the approaches. Here I can keep that these approaches are integration approaches. Levels of testing, integration approaches, methodologies, and testing period. Anything we have been missed? Okay, come back to here. So now in this particular triangle, what are the things we will have it? Okay.
Unit testing.
Unit API.
Unit testing.
Testing integration. Testing
API.
Okay, I'll ask one by one so that you guys will not have confusion. Yeah, Mona, go ahead.
Unit testing. Unit integration testing. System integration.
No.
UI process.
No.
Pranusha, can you go ahead?
Yes, sir. Unit testing API, user interference.
Not interference, user interface.
Security.
Okay. And ETL and performance.
Interface.
And
Performance and security.
Okay. So now, first of all, we need to understand the testing pyramid. So, however, I'll come back and explain. And here, levels of testing. So, what are the levels of testing, Mani?
Unit testing.
Guys, how many times I told you, Mani? So here I'm talking about levels of testing. So then
Unit
this will
level,
say
Unit
this
level
should be unit level.
Integration level.
Okay. We'll come one by one. So I don't want the group answers. Yeah. So Mani, what is the next level?
Module level.
Okay.
Integration level testing.
Okay. Next.
System level testing. And user acceptance testing.
UAT. So these are the levels of testing. Cool. Now, Priyanka, what are the approaches, integration approaches we have?
Top bottom approach and bottom up approach.
Top down approach. Sorry.
Next one.
Big bang.
And sandwich approach.
Big bang. Sandwich.
Big bang
Sandwich. Big bang.
Sandwich and then big bang.
Big bang.
So these are the approaches which we have it. Okay, I'll just take this window here. Okay. Now, what are the methodologies we do have it? Sneha, what are the testing methodologies we have? Okay, so Pranusha, what are the testing methodologies?
Black box testing.
White box testing. Black box, gray box. Okay, so now we have been defined all these particular levels and these things. Okay, now so when it comes to so first of all, units is out of our scope. So because this will be taken care by whom?
Developers.
Who will take care? Dev team has been taken care. Let's leave that. Here also the levels of testing, we will keep this one for dev team. Let them take. Why we need to come about it. And here
which methodologies we wanted to keep out of the scope for white box testing and the gray box testing we are keeping out of scope. So if you see here, this is out of scope. I'll change the color. So this is out of scope. Unit level is out of scope. And here the white box and the gray box is out of scope. Any doubts here? Clear. Now, what do you meant by API testing? So if you know this one, then you can understand this clearly. So first of all, I'll give you what you meant by an API so that it was very easier for you to understand then about the API. Okay. API is nothing but how I can explain. Okay, I'll take this example. Now, I wanted to travel from Chennai to Goa flight. So I have 3 airlines. Okay, 4 airlines: AirAsia, Air India, SpiceJet, and Indigo. Will I go for each website, 4 websites, and then see that particular means what are the flights we are having it? Will I see means will I go for all these particular websites and then see this one, or I'll go for make my trip and then see all these things in the make my trip? What you will do?
Make my trip.
Probably I'll go for make my trip and then I'll be seeing it. But you need to understand one thing, right? These details of Air India and Air Asia and SpiceJet and Indigo information, they should give it to the make my trip, right? So then only that data, he will consolidate all these particular data and then he will show it to me in the make my trip. And as he is showing and then he is booking, he was charging us a conveyance charges of 350 to 400 rupees per ticket. This is what the business of MMT, he is doing it, right? Now for an example, how he means how these guys will send this particular data. So now what they will be trying to do is we will be having a layer, means from one point to another pointer, I need to travel this, means take this particular data and drop it. Means it's simple. Idhar ka maal udhar ka maal idhar. That's it. So what it was trying to do, he takes this data and post it here. And he take means after booking that particular ticket, he take this data and then send it to him. Means for example, this is SpiceJet and this is make my trip. So now what it was happening, he was trying to take this particular data and traveling here and from this data to here. So this is what he wanted to do it. Now he wanted to exchange this particular data, right? What is the medium they need to do this exchanging of the data? See now, if you wanted to travel from here to, means for example, from here, Tirupati to Chennai, you will be traveling in a car. Or means there is a medium to transport from one place to another place. Now, once I need to travel, means send the data from here to here, I should find some medium to travel this. What is that medium? The medium, which is nothing but the APIs or endpoints. Okay, what do you difference between APIs and endpoints? A group of endpoints, will call it as APIs. A group of APIs, it will call as a collections. Simple. A group of endpoints is called as APIs. A group of APIs will call as collections. Now, what is an endpoint? Endpoint will have 4 requests. Basically, many requests are there. There will be few requests. Means actually, you go for a hotel. Okay. You went to hotel and then you'll ask, boss, I need dosa to server. You request dosa, he will give you dosa. You request idli, he will give you idli. You request masala dosa, he'll give you masala dosa, right? So what you are trying to do, client and server, customer server. Customer asked dosa, server given the response. He requested, he responded. Customer asked idli, he responded with idli. Customer asked masala dosa, he responded. So now what you need to understand is client will request, server will respond. Wow. Now both should have common language. I went to a hotel and then I asked him, give me idli in Chinese. Will he understand? Or I ask him idli in Spanish. Will he understand? No. So there should be some common language.
right? When I was giving a request and when I'm getting the response, we both should have a common language. The same way, when we are requesting for this particular API or for this particular endpoints, so this would be having an HTML request. So HTML requests are get, put, post, delete. Like this, we have many type of requests are there. See now, this is idli, this is vada, this is dosa, this is pongal. So means there are many types of requests you can have it. There are many things in your menu. The same way you'll have it. So now what the means keeping this hotel business side, when we talk about the APIs, a client can request and the server can respond. So the client is requesting and server will responding, and they should have a common language which is called HTTP. Sorry, not HTML. HTTP request and response. So what is this? This is a protocol which it transfers the data from means in the internet. So on the web. So now we have been given a request, HTTP request, and we got a HTTP response. What are the different type of HTTP requests are? These are get, put, post, and put responses. Get means it will get the complete data. For example, I'll ask him to give me the menu items. Or else, for example, whatever the flights from Chennai to Goa, I just given the date and time. And as soon as I click this one, okay, that is not the thing. I just ask him to show me, means when I click the menu items, immediately it will give me all the response. So from server, it was showing me. So this is called get response. And now what do you mean by post responses? I given the input as today means what is a flight date, how many passengers I'm going it, and then I was clicking on that search button. Then this is called post request. And if at all already my data is there, means I was giving 3 different scenarios. Okay, I have something called edit my profile in any other Facebook profile or anything. Already my data is there. I'm going to means previously it's my name is Krishna. So now I'm going to change this one as Chris. So when I changed my name from Krishna to Chris, and then I click the update, then update will go for put request. If I need to get the data from server, pure data, only data without giving any parameters, then that is called get request. And if I'm giving some parameters and then I was requesting for the data, then this is called post request. And existing something, I wanted to make the changes. So then it is called put request. I have these 3 requests, and delete is nothing but it deletes that particular thing. Okay, don't worry about all. So even now also it is not so important for you to understand all these things, but just you need to understand that if you wanted to have a consolidated data, means if you wanted to traverse the data, we should have the HTTP protocols. So that via HTTP protocols, what it will do means it will act as a bridge between a client and server, where the client can request and the server can give the responses. And it will have a common platform, which is a HTTP protocol. Based upon the HTTP protocol, then the client requests and get the response. And for that one, there are different type of requests: get request, put request, post request. And then get request is nothing but fetching the data. Put request is to update the data, and post request is give the data and fetch the details. So these are the 3 type of requests. So now I know that if I explain this way, you might get confused. That's where I taken that hotel example. So whenever you wanted to talk about the API, so you can keep this as a remembrance of the hotel example and the make my trip, so that it would be easier. Now this is a very high level view of what do you meant by APIs. So now once you tested the unit testing, then you need to go for the API testing. So here the API testing we need to do it. Now in case of this login functionality, which type of request we will try to do it? For login functionality, what type of request it will have it?
Get.
Any other answers?
Get
User
request.
interface.
Hmm?
User interface.
No. User interface is, see, you need to understand what is user interface. User interface is nothing but whatever we are seeing with our naked eyes. So now for an example, this is this I'm seeing with my naked eye. So then this is called a user interface. This is called as GUI, graphical user interface, or UI, user interface. So now this is one user interface. This is one user interface. So anything which you can see it and play around with it, that is called UI. But now my question is, if I wanted to test from the API for this particular login functionality, now in this one, what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to give my username, Chris, and I'm giving my password and fetching the details.
Post.
What is the type of request I'm using here?
Post.
Answer is very simple. Post. How many minutes? I told you, right? So here I'm saying that we'll post the details, get that particular data is authenticated or not. Now what I'll try to do, I give the right username, right password, and then I click the login button. What it will take, this particular endpoint, this post endpoint will come into the picture. It takes this data, it go to the server, and it will validate that whether these are the right credentials or not. If it is right credentials, it will come back and say that, boss, it is authenticated, make him to move to home page. If this particular username and the data is wrong, then what it will try to do, it will say, it will come back and say that username is wrong, throw that error message. So then it will throw the error message. Did you understand how this error messages or how this will work? See, now the front end, it is like a means it's like a dummy. They don't have the code. See, now every time we have 3 layers, means if you remember, we have been discussed this one when we are discussing about the type of applications. This is the front end UI. In the front end UI, you'll be having only the graphical user interface, means checkboxes, buttons, and all the things. The functionality has been written in this particular APIs, and this APIs will hit the DB. It will take this particular data, means whatever the data you have been entered, the username and password, it fetches the data, go to the DB and validate whether this data is exist in our DB or not. It will check that particular data. If this data is existed, then it will make this authenticated and then it will send it to the home page. If this data is not authenticated, then it will fail here and it will show that error message, username is wrong or password is wrong. So that's the error messages it will try to display over here. That is what you will validate. You are here, you are validating this particular post endpoint. So in the API layer, you tell me if API itself it's not working, will it work? It means, for example, there is a bug in this API, means in the post request, even though you given the right data, it was throwing me the error. Is it really worth it? Means if you test it from the UI?
No.
Because even from UI, you given the right data, even though this endpoint itself, it's wrong. Even it will go and then it will give you wrong. So you understand why the second layer is API?
Yeah.
So now the first layer is unit testing, because if the unit testing it itself it's failed, there is no point to come to the API. If the API itself it's failed, then don't go for the UI layer itself. There is no point of going there, because the endpoint itself it was wrong, dude. So if it is wrong, then what you are going to test it from the front end UI? It doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of time. So that's the reason the APIs plays a vital role in the second level. And as soon as you identify a defect, the cost of defect is less. The faster you identify a bug, the faster the cost of defect will be reduced. That's the logic you need to understand. And that's the reason we should have the strong unit test cases, because the bugs will be identified in the unit test cases. Because the people may or may not write, the developers may not write the exact unit test cases. So the bug escaped in the units. Then it reaches to the API. If you don't identify the bug here, where the bug will be cascaded? Cascaded means it comes to the next level. The bug will comes in the UI. Now, we have 2 developers, front-end developers, back-end developers. If a guy who knows the front end and the back end, then he will be called as full stack developer. Front-end developer will develops the front end. What is the front end? See, now you take the WhatsApp. This is what the front end. Now he said that, okay, all these things should be there. Okay, I'll open any website. It will gives you some more good. Now, if you see here, you're seeing it, right? So this website, oh, you guys are not able to see the screen, right?
No.
Okay, I'll share this one.
Oh, no.
So if you see here, now, if you see here, this is what the front end means. Now, if you see here, if you go to the inspect code, view page source code, so this is completely HTML. Now this guy has been written the logic, and see he have been written in the JavaScript. This is called all the JavaScript, and this is all the HTML code. So these all things will be done by front-end developer. The front-end developer is nothing but which we see with our naked eye, the client side. So this is the client side. So these guys who develop with the web pages. So this is a web page, they will be developing it. For developing this one web pages, we you have the technologies called HTML, React.js, Vue.js, Angular applications. So all these things are front-end development applications. Means to develop this particular website on the front-end website, they will be writing this all. So if you see the code, so they have been written, these are the conditions, and then these are the stylings. See, now this should be in the black color, and when I have marked, this should be the red color, this should be the logo, and when I click on this one, it should come here, and when I click on the CI/CD, it should go to the CI/CD, and serverless, when I clicked on it, it need to go serverless. All the code they have been written here. So this is how the front-end developer write the code. But now there is something to do that means, for example, now login. So now what need to do when I have given the credentials, it takes that credentials, it need to go to the DB and validate in the DB. So those things are called the backend developer. So they will write the business logics. Now it takes this value, go to the server, validate the details, and coming back. So how the backend developers nowadays, they are writing with the latest technology called microservices or the APIs or web services. There are slight differences between the APIs, web services, and all things. But for you, as of now, don't get confused. If someone say the microservice architecture, API architecture, or this one, so those all things will be part of this one only. So hope you understood, right? So now what is the importance of an API testing, or how we need to do it? So that's the reason now the market was blooming with the APIs. So if you are an API tester, you will be having a more importance and faster to identify that one. So the API automation is mandatory. So then previously it was only the UI level, means we are validating the things from the UI layer. But now you are validating it from the, oh, I lost that. Oh, it's there. So now if you see here, this is how directly the people used to test previously. Now they will be testing from the units, they will be testing it from the API layer, and they will be testing it from the UI layer also. Now I tested, okay, from the UI layer, what I'll be testing it. Okay, what are the validations I can see? Now I have this particular post endpoint, right? What are the validations I can test it from the API layer? Can anyone with the post? What are the things I can test it? See, now we know that which endpoint I need to test. The endpoint is post. What are the validations I can test it in the post?
Like username, password.
What are the validations? That's what I'm asking you.
All those we can check.
Huh? Yes, just think logically. See, now for an endpoint, I can give the username and password. Then I can click on this one. See, now what it will happen is I entered username, I entered the password. As I click this login button, immediately this post endpoint will be called. So the post endpoint will take these values, it will go to the server, and then it will validate and it will come back. What are the validations I can check now with the API?
The password given for the user is correct.
Okay.
Authentication and
User,
Okay, we'll
that
come one by
particular
one.
user.
Solution. Yeah, Vasan, go ahead.
Krishna, whether the password matches with the correct username.
Why you guys have been doubt, Vasan? That's right. See, now the truth table. Remember, true, 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 false, 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 true. This all the validations you'll do it, right? Right username, right password, for right
Yes.
username, false.
Wrong,
Yeah, we
wrong
can.
password.
All those validations you can do it over here, right?
Yes, sir.
So in the API validation itself, you can identify, because if something is failing, you know, you just imagine that if something is failing here, will it pass from the front end UI? See, now you just imagine. So every logic and everything is in the endpoint. Okay, all the logics, these are all logics written in the endpoint. We are giving a front end face, only a face for this. This is which is called UI. UI will only means this is for the client easiness we are giving it, because client don't know how to operate with the endpoint. We are giving a page, UI page, the web page. In this particular web page, you need to do it. So these all things will be written by the backend developers, and this will be written by the front end developers.
And then
So now from the front end, we are keying these particular values. Now, if these particular logics are failing here, will you test it from the UI?
no.
Oh. Then what are the validations you wanted to do? All validations you can complete. So you can do all the validations from the API itself. Then why you required front end? What else values you'll be trying to do? What are the validations for the UI we will do?
Of login and we'll check any mistakes in the
That web page is
What are the validations you will be trying to do? Just think. Amitabh, what are the validations you will do from the front end?
If the username and password is correct, then it will go for login. So in UI, so that would be the validation.
Yeah, that validation you'll do. The positive validations. Yes, you will be doing it. Now, what else? What else validations from the user perspective, from the front end UI perspective?
The password should not be visible.
It should, yes, the
Excellent. Password shouldn't be visible. Next.
The user should go for home page after login.
User should go for home page after login. Next. As you're only thinking from the functional perspective, what happened to the non-functional perspective?
Performance, when we click on login, how much time it will take to
those performance will be part of the performance testing, right?
Yes.
See, now the layer here you're seeing it, right? So the layer which you are trying to see, guys, I'm just trying to have here, see, now this is what the performance layer you are trying to do.
Yes.
Now here we are in the still UI. What else we will try to do?
We will
from the
check
user
for the
perspective?
We will check for the spelling, color, if any given, the font, the size of the text box, the size of the button, the alignment of the.
Yeah, non-functional testing. So alignment, text, and all these things you'll be validating. What else? What else?
And
See,
character validation.
Characters validations.
For example, if a username is limited to a it depends upon the application, but if it has any criteria that a username should be limited to 4 characters or so, so that validations also can be a part of it.
That would be validated by API, right?
What is that? What are the validation called as?
Captcha.
Not captcha. Captcha validations you do it. You guys are missing the most important thing. Boundary value analysis. See, you might have an immediate question. Boundary value analysis, why I should do it from the front end? Why can't I do it from the back end in the API? Is it required to do boundary value analysis at both the places?
No.
Yes, it's required. Because there are two different developers working on this. Right? The front end developer and the back end developer. When we given this code to the API, they might written that it shouldn't, means the value it should take from this range to 8 to 12 characters. But the front end developer might give 8 to 14 characters. So both developers are different, right? He may do the mistake, right?
So you are testing from the UI layer. You are testing from the API layer. So the layer wise differences will be there. So when you have a different layers, a different developers, and it's not mandatory that all the test cases which you tested in API, you need to test it in this UI. Probably not. But for example, now the truth table which you are showing me now, will I need to test it from the UI and API? Is it mandatory that I need to test this UI validations from the both the layers? Guys, just give me 1 second. Just think about that. Yes, Indu, Chapani. Yeah. Go ahead, guys. Yeah, tell me. So whether I need to do all this true, false means use a wrong username, right password. These things I need to do it in the API layer and the UI layer. Both I need to do it, or if I do it in one layer is enough.
One layer is enough. I
One
think
layer,
at first I will do in API layer, then that would be enough. Because the post will check that and will respond in the server like should the user be logged in or not.
Okay. Any other
I
answers?
think it's important to do it in both layers, because in UI layers also, if there is any error, the error message should be shown in the UI layer itself. So that also need to be checked as part of UI layer.
Guys, just give me 1 second. Padma Garu, I'm in a call, Andy, so I'll call you after this one, Andy. Okay, no? Sure. Okay, fine. Bye. If you okay, sorry. So I just wanted to give the wrong credentials and then show this one. So okay, take something else. I just wanted to show you some UI layer and then talk about it. Guys, I was just operating it with my another hand. So just give me a second. Okay. Okay. Will it not required for me to do test this one in the UI?
It's
Because
important.
see, you are getting the error messages, right? Not this exactly. You can have this one. So anything else, I'll take Amazon.
Krish, we're seeing the paint.
Screen is not visible, sir.
Oh, you are not able to see the screen, huh?
Yeah.
See, now as soon as you enter this one, you got this error message, right? Will you not validate this error message from the front end? From the
Yes,
API, you are
I said
validating it.
about it.
Yes. I got the answer, Vasant. So that's what I was just explaining it. So from the back end, you got that. See, now when it is right, then it will return back as 200 success code. When it is wrong, it will give us different success codes like 2XX, 3XX, sorry, 3XX, 4XX, 5XX. Now this error we got, we got it. We validated that one in the back end. But when it comes to the front end, is it throwing this right error message to the client or means to the front end people or not? Will you don't validate this one?
Yes.
We need to validate this or not?
Yes, we need to validate.
Yes, validate.
How to validate?
So this is how you need to take the decision. What are the things I need to validate from the back end? What are the things I need to validate from the front end? So what it means now, another important factor which you guys didn't talk about is from the UI layer is compatibility testing. I waited for that particular answer from you all. You need to do the compatibility testing, right? With the different browsers. Will you test only in the Firefox? Will you test only in the Chrome? Don't you have this all information? Don't you test across the browsers, across the operating systems?
Yes.
We have to.
So when you have, you just imagine that we are just talking about a login functionality. For login functionality, we are just thinking from only the testing pyramid. The ground layer is units, next layer is APIs, next layer is UI, and then next performance. Means for an example, 10,000 users logging at one point of time. Take a big billion day, or take the Tatkal time, every day morning 10 o'clock. At that point of time, so 10,000, I mean, some lakhs of people will be logging into that IRCTC site, right? Will the application means should be stable or not? So once the 10,000 users logged in, because almost all everyone will log in at 9:56, 9:57, 9:58, 9:59 during that last 5 minutes only, right? They will not log at 8 o'clock. So at that time, the performance testing we need to do it or not.
Yes.
And security testing, the most important thing. So the credentials and these things, you should maintain this one or not?
Yes.
You should have to have this particular informations or not?
Yes.
See, when you take that particular parameters itself, you should understand that from where you need to test it. Guys, just give me 1 second. Sir, good morning, sir. Yes, sir. నేను అయిన తర్వాత కాల్ చేశాను సార్. షూర్ సార్, ఫైన్ సార్, నేను ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేస్తాను సార్. బాయ్. So that's how we will be trying to do it, right? So now from the layer, you tell me which layer is not important for login functionality. Units, APIs, UIs, performance, security. Which layer you will not select, or which layer is not required for it?
ETL.
Sorry?
ETL.
Yeah, I want to talk about ETL, but ETL is another bigger topic. Now you have username and password. You have 10,000 data. So you need to take that username and password, and then you need to go into the 10,000 users, and then you need to search it and identify it, right? How fast you will search in that 10,000 data?
The sooner I can extract the data from the data server.
So from where you are fetching it? From data server. So that is
Yes.
what the ETL testing, database testing. So you're able to fetch the right thing, right?
Yes.
So now out of 10,000 records, you need to fetch the right data.
Yes.
You tell me ETL is not required?
Yes, required.
You tell me which layer is not required for testing?
Every layer is
All layers we have.
Now you tell me yesterday you have written the assessments, right? And then yesterday you told me, right? So have you covered performance? Have you covered security? Have you covered ETL? Have you covered API?
I haven't covered the API and ETL. What else I have covered? The rest of the.
I'm just generally talking about it. I mean, not about specifically. So what my intention is, whenever you take in any particular functionality, complete testing pyramid has to be tested. And now we talked about only about the pyramid. Okay, if you see here in this one, we have been talked about the pyramid only. We have been talked. So now all these things you need to be covering it up, and which levels you are be doing it. See now unit testing and the unit layer. I mean this particular in the testing pyramid, this will map to this particular unit testing. And module level means the UI and the API will falls into this particular module level and integration level. So we need to map this all things accordingly. So now, so from the testing pyramid, how it was mapping to the levels of testing, from the levels of testing, how it was mapping to the approaches, and from the approaches, how it was mapping to the methodologies. This is what you need to understand. And when you are writing the coverage, so the coverage is, you tell me I didn't cover the performance and then security ETL, but I covered the UI API, I written all the test cases. Your test coverage is high.
No.
What, okay, you tell me what do you mean by coverage? Test coverage. I'm trying to cover my means my testing coverage, whether I have been tested this one,
Yes.
this application completely or not. Is this not the meaning?
Yes.
You tell me now I didn't cover bus from security performance and ETL. Excellent. I covered from UI layer and then API layer. No doubt about it. Will it make some sense?
No.
So in industry, you talk to anyone and get back to me. So what do you mean by test coverage? Will they talk about this all? Probably not. So that is where you need to learn. So if I have a functionality, what are the things I need to cover? From where, which perspectives I need to cover? You may not know in performance how I need to do, what are the validations I need to do. At least a high level I need to know. From the security, may not know all the things because we do have OSAP top 10 and the cross-site scripting, brute force, many things are there. It's not really required to learn all the things, but at least you need to say that, boss, I don't know about the security testing, but for this functionality, the security testing is required. Go and test this one. If they say no, not required, okay, what is your name? So then he said that security testing is not required. Send a mail to the people. Will he accept that? Never. People are not ready to take any blame. People are not ready to take any responsibility, accountability. But as a tester, you should take that one. See, my responsibility to test this particular functionality with these all aspects. If you wanted to take it up, take it up. If you don't want, you can stop. That's it. So that's how you need to think through whenever there is a functionality. Now you map it to any functionality. If you understand the testing pyramid, and if you understand that how I need to test this particular functionality, now this can be applicable for any application, right? And levels, if you see that, so unit means the testing pyramid unit will be mapping to the unit level. UI and API will map it to the module level, and UI and API will map it to the integration level, and UI will map it to the system integration, the system level, because the compatibility testing and everything. Even the API also will falls into the different environments, pre-prod environment, normal environment. You need to test that, right? And UAT. All these things will be part of this one. And then now it's a ETL and the performance. So this is how you need to map it to the levels of testing, pyramids of testing, approaches, methodologies, and then you should derive your test coverage.
Okay.
And if you go through websites, you'll not get these informations, because this is based upon your experience only. You'll get to know how to do this all. And you know, if you ask you in the interviews for the people that what are the validations I need to do it from API, what are the validations from the UI, people will not answer this question too. Just check with your experienced friends whom you have. So give a functionality and then ask them where to test what. They'll get stuck. Okay, however, it's not my point of saying that. So this is how these things will be there. So that's it for today. So for priority severity, we'll discuss tomorrow. At the same time, we'll discuss about our this one also. So about